also previewing their song in the first semi-final is Germany, which selected via the national final Unser for Liverpool, and it was Lord of the Lost with Blood and Glitter, who won the German national final and will represent Germany at Liverpool in May.
Glitter, sweet and bitter, we're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter, we're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter, saint and sinner, we do.
Tell me your thoughts about Blood and Glitter.
I love this. It's really grown on me. I wasn't quite sure about it at first, but like, I think if you know me, you know that I was gonna really like this eventually. It is now also in my top 10. Like, I wasn't sure if it was for a Eurovision audience at first, but actually, after seeing how well it did in the televote in Unser for Liverpool, I actually believe it probably is. They staged it really well in the national final, and I do think that's just going to elevate because obviously they were in a small studio for Unser for Liverpool. They'll be on a massive like arena stage at Eurovision, so I do think they'll elevate the staging for this. I'm excited for that. This was ultimately the right move for Germany because I think the songs that they were previously in were a little bit safe, and I think this does have a televote audience that will vote for it, and I think that's what Germany needed this year. Is it going to light up the left-hand side of the leaderboard? I don't know. It depends on the discrepancy between the televote and the jury for me, but I do think this is going to do quite well in the televote because there's just an audience for it, and I think, again, they are quite established artists, so I do think there will be people that have followed them that will vote for them, especially in the Nordic countries, and I think the UK and Ireland as well, they've done a lot of touring, so I think this is a positive step in the right direction for Germany. I don't know how well it's going to do in the final, but I don't think it'll come bottom 5, and that is a improvement, to say the least.
Yes, I mean, frankly, at this point in the timeline, we are looking at it feeling like a triumph if countries like France and Germany don't come in, the bottom 5, which is sad. I think that's also kind of undeserved. But I don't think Malik deserved the ranking that he got last year. I thought Malik Harris was actually in some ways one of the riskiest moves that Germany's made in recent years, and actually deserved to do way better. I thought he deserved the left-hand side of the column last year. I thought that was a travesty, and so I'm wary. On the one hand, this is one of the songs I'm most excited about. For Germany, right? Because Germany's identity musically, globally, is hard electronic genres like industrial and techno, and hard rock genres like heavy metal genres, and we just never see Germany send that to Eurovision. And we've all been like waiting for it, like what are you doing? That's literally what you're known for. No wonder we talk a lot about a strong kind of national identity and identifiable national identity. It does seem to help, I keep going back to Fulen, but that does seem to be one of the things that let it down, was that people weren't familiar enough with that element of French culture. Something that people really are familiar with is heavy genres from Germany, and it will be so refreshing to see that from Germany at Eurovision. I'm so excited because Lord of the Lost are an industrial metal act, and we never see industrial at Eurovision. Literally, Hattari is the only time we've ever come to anything close to industrial at Eurovision. And Blood and Glitter is industrial adjacent. It's not really industrial per se. It's more of a dark rock, gothic metal song with like a dark glam rock visual aesthetic, and I think that's really clever. Again, really smart move from this band, because talking about what plays well with the Eurovision audience. Eurovision viewers love rock, but are not so keen on the harder kind of electronic genres. They never tend to do well. So actually moving away from industrial and into like something that's really got glam rock aesthetics which visually are very appealing and I think appeal to a broader demographic than maybe, you know, people realize or give credit for. So it's immediately accessible. Think of how accessible Måneskin seemed just because of that. It's pretty. Glam rock vibes are really pretty, right? They're just kind of immediately identifiably attractive. You know, glitter and flamboyant costuming and fireworks essentially. Like we that plays well if you've got 3 minutes to introduce yourself to people who don't know you as an established act. And then the actual sound is not glam at all. The sound is like, oh, it's one of my favorite things in this contest. It's gothic. It's really gothic metal, but in a way that is kind of, I think it plays into what Eurovision audiences tend to like from their rock bands, you know? And yet it's not the softer side of rock, which I always get really frustrated about seeing at Eurovision, and which honestly people seem to love, but like doesn't tend to get like super high results on the leaderboard when it comes down to it. I will be really upset if Lord of the Lost don't make it to the left-hand side of the column. This is like my number 5 at the moment. I actually can see this moving up even further than that because I think that they put on a fantastic show. They seem like lovely people, and that comes across on stage with this band. That actually comes across on stage. There's a lot of joy there's a real delicious, enjoyable energy to them when they're performing. I think that there's something really fun as well about the fact that the lyrics are sort of in some ways very, you know, love, love, peace, peace. And then there's that brilliant, we're so happy we could die. That's just like, yes, let's like hit that kind of like, you know, dystopian gothic place in you know in the lyrics. That's really fun to me. And I really don't want to be disappointed in May. I'm so excited. And yes, actually, they do have a very kind of established fan base, an international fan base as well. So that's really cool to see from Germany. Actually, kind of, it feels like they're taking it seriously, you know, sending an act like this. And we keep seeing people who, I mean, Rosie was saying literally the other day in the chat, and I've seen it as well on socials, people who normally don't watch Eurovision are being drawn in by this band. Like we've seen a lot of people commenting like, I've never watched Eurovision in my life, or like I normally don't even pay attention to Eurovision, but you know, I love this band, so I'm gonna tune in. That's so cool. And this is why I want to like get away from the whole like, is this for Eurovision though? Yes, everything's for Eurovision. If it's not for Eurovision yet, then let's make it for Eurovision by putting that, you know, genre on the Eurovision stage and like introducing people to a brand new genre that they haven't heard before, or, you know, a brand new act that they've never seen before, even though it has this really established fan base. I have really high hopes for this. I think they're going to stage it beautifully. I loved the staging at the national final. And like you say, that was a studio, you know, has the potential, because it's musically very kind of expansive and swelling. I think this has the potential to be spectacular in May. So I'm very excited. Don't let me down, Eurovision fans. Because I agree with you, this will live and die by the televote. This is a televote song. Unfortunately, juries underrate all of the genres that Lord of the Lost, you know, tend to capture with their energy and their musical vibe.